a former Buckingham Place spokesman and voice of the palace during the very public fallout, stated it was during that overseas tour royal officials lost this one and the feud could no longer be denied by the hierarchy. The Prince and Princess of Wales embarked on what would turn out to be their final royal engagement as a married couple in November of that year. The fierce tension between the pair was shown on their faces, and could it no longer be masked, their seething faces and the inability to make eye contact with another sealed the end of the love story. The marriage of the century would officially be over just weeks after the trip, and news of their separation was announced by Prime Minister John Major in the House of Commons. These revelations comes after years of constant denial from the palace by Dickie Arbiter, who worked as the Buckingham Palace spokesman during that period until 2000. When questioned on whether misleading the press was right, he stated there was no option but to do it. He told Jeremy Paxman in a Channel 5 documentary, Paxman on the Queen's children, "At the time it wasn't acceptable. We did it because we had no option but to do it." Mr. Arbiter also stated the monarchy was under increasing pressure because of the broken-down marriage of Charles's younger brother Prince Andrew to his wife Sarah Ferguson. He added, "We had two marriages going pear-shaped, because in 1992 you had the Princess Royal getting divorced, you had Fergie having her toes sucked in the south of France, whilst sunbathing topless by her financial advisor." The dour mood of the royal family was reflected in the Queen's Christmas speech, where she described the year as an Annus Horribilis, which translates as horrible year in Latin. Her Majesty said, "1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure." In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an Annus Horribilis. Reports of trouble in the marriage had been rife before the official split in 1992 and subsequent divorce 4 years later in 1996. Those closest to the royal couple described their relationship as the worst match you could possibly have made. Paul Burrell, a former servant of the British royal household and butler to Diana, said cracks in the marriage were getting wider and wider after Prince Harry's birth, which had provided the royal family an heir and spare, meaning her job was done. In the Channel 4 documentary Princess Diana's Wicked Stepmother, Mr. Burrell said, "I could see the cracks in the marriage between Charles and Diana getting wider and wider. Diana confided in me that on the night Harry was born, she cried herself to sleep. She says I knew my marriage was over, and the prince told the princess that his duty was now done. He had provided the country with an heir and a spare, and he could now resume his relationship with Ms. Parker Bowles." But for some their downfall had been on the cards, and the perfect marriage in 1981 was described as the worst match you could possibly have made. Royal biographer Penny Junor said, "She was just bitterly unhappy. She was disappointed in her marriage, as was Charles. It was a car crash from the very beginning." Watch Paxman on the Queen's Children on Channel 5.